Alright, Trial Mob, welcome back to another feature. We're going to be going over some more Joytoy stuff because, as I mentioned, they have been absolutely wild with this beginning of the year release schedule, and as you can tell, we're getting basically a full army here. Okay, so it's not really a full army, but it is about a 7-man squad that are basically all just army builders, just stuff that you can add to your Joytoy collection as it sits. This is a photo of all 7 of them all together. As you can tell, they are basically a mismatch, not a mismatch, but basically a mashup of a lot of the figures we've already gotten, some of the heads we've already seen before, some of the helmets, just basically all put together in a way that basically creates a new figure. I am really digging this a lot, actually, and I do appreciate it, and you will be surprised by how cheap the pricing has been, since these are basically rehashed figures, nothing new. You know, I know a lot of people sometimes complain about that kind of stuff, but I think it's much needed when it comes to companies like Joytoy, where they're able to basically rehash the same figure again, and we're able to see a steady price decrease. Now, here's the deal. Basically, everything that in this segment, all 7 of these guys basically are coming in at roughly $20 a piece, depending on where you're getting it from. But we've seen it go as low as $10. $10 a figure. Honestly, at $10 a figure, I'd probably get at least 5 of the Johnny with the suit and tie, just because that'd be really cool. Put some other heads on him just to make it look like it's a bunch of different dudes in suit and ties. Really cool stuff, really cool Call of Duty type stuff. So let's go ahead and break it down. Let's go ahead and take a look at each and every single one of them. Again, we've seen all of this before. We've seen the bodies before. We've seen what they look like. So let's go ahead and take a look at how they've been basically matched together to make up a new figure. All right, so starting off with this first one right here, figure 02. I don't believe I've bought specifically whatever figure this is, where this helmet is originally from, but the color scheme here is, I would say, interesting. The teal color, the under brown color. Some of this stuff looks like it can be obviously futuristic military. Some of it looks like it's from today's military. Now, if we put it all together, this is what the guy looks like. I'm not gonna lie, I do kind of like the way this looks. Again, very futuristic looking. I realize this is the body armor from, not Gunther, I forget his name. Garrison, I think is what his name was. Anyways, yeah, obviously big mashup of figures. It doesn't look half bad. I kind of wish instead of a helmet, these guys came with maybe regular heads, only because it makes it hard for me to put this guy next to some of the Navy SEALs that I've bought, because this just obviously is not going to match up with them. And at the same time, this obviously looks more futuristic than a realistic character. But I do like what they've done, and if this is something that you want to add to your, to your figures, I think this is going to be a good looking figure. Now, I do want to say that a lot of this is obviously some sort of reuse, but some of the stuff looks a little different. Like these patches around his waist, I'm not really quite sure where that's from. So I got to give it up to Joytoy and being ingenious and saying, hey, let's give our collectors a cheap and easy way to get into the field, get into Joytoy. If this is your first encounter with Joytoy, this is not a bad way to do it. $10-$20 figures that come with all the stuff that you do. Maybe you don't want the Navy SEALs, maybe you don't want the Russian soldiers, maybe you don't want the PLA, you just want a mismatch, not a mismatch, you just want cool looking figures, military style figures. Here it is. Now, just like before, what we're getting here is basically a pistol that you can see right there on the side. Something about that pistol holster looks a little weird. It like really sticks out, so that's a little different. And then of course it comes with that crisp factor, which looks pretty tight. So for the most part, this is I think a solid release. Again, a different color, a different scheme. This isn't probably something you can add really to any specific Joytoy release in terms of any kind of military unit. This is kind of a solo thing. Now, this next guy right here, number 5, I know it's a little bit out of order, and I think I missed one of them, but this guy right here, again, this is more of the general figure that we've gotten before from some of the military Joytoy stuff. Kind of like that mix of like that Johnny and Mercenary K look, and some of the same equipment. And I think I like it. It's kind of weird because it's kind of some of that military stuff that we've seen before, but in completely different colors and mixed in a way that makes it kind of weird. I don't know. Is this something you guys would add to the Navy SEAL team? I don't necessarily like it, but again, it's not a bad looking figure. Now, I will admit that once you put everything on him all together, he actually does look pretty good. I do like the way this figure comes together. It looks a bit more realistic, a bit more like, again, maybe another mercenary figure, right? All the pieces that he has onto him looks like something that a realistic modern, a modern warrior today might, use. So I guess this is definitely something you could put with, I would probably say this would look best with the mercenaries. Probably not going to look all that great with some of the other figures. But yeah, I do like the aesthetic a lot better here once it's all put together. And yeah, I think that this is something that you might like. And again, for $20, not a bad thing. I don't know if we've seen that gun before. Can anyone tell me if we have? I'm so used to seeing guns with like scopes and stuff that I'm actually kind of surprised to see this without a scope. Now, I know most of you have obviously, seen Joytoy figures before, but this is kind of like the money shot right here for me, as I would imagine it's the money shot for a lot of you. So if you're new to Joytoy and you're watching this right now, yes, even though these are 1/18 scale figures, they're a bit smaller, and, these guys come packed with a lot of stuff. As you can tell, these guys can get into a perfect kneeling position while aiming down sight. And once you start seeing the figure like this, once you start seeing the figure kind of in action, I feel like it definitely starts to feel like you can really fit this in with a lot more stuff. It makes it look more real. It makes it look more realistic. And that's something that I appreciate. And I think the more I look at this as I'm talking to you guys about it, I feel like this is another one that I actually want. Now, this next one right here is based off one of the hunters. I think his name is straight up Hunter. The helmet. It's an interesting look. I do think that it looks fairly cool. It's probably one of the ones that's a bit more subdued overall together. I don't really like that helmet. When I first saw the helmet, I think I told you guys I liked the way it looked. Then I bought the figure and I saw it in person and realized I don't like this helmet at all. I think that this would be one of those figures that if I do buy, I'm definitely going to want to remove the helmet and switch it out for something else to make it look more the way I want it. But if you like the helmet, I think, and if you've bought a Hunter before or something, I think you are going to obviously like the way this looks. But let's go ahead and take a look and see what that looks like all put together. So this is what the figure looks like with everything on him. I actually really like the green pants. I like the black top. I don't like the helmet. And I don't think I like the gun either. But everything else actually kind of comes together decently well. I like some of the breakup in color. I would really like to see this guy with like a different helmet or a more like not futuristic helmet, more just like a modern military helmet. I think this actually wouldn't be bad looking. And I don't think this would be bad looking if these are, and I could be wrong here, of course, but these could also not only be, an army builder, right? Because you can buy maybe multiple of these, but I wouldn't be surprised if in the future we get potentially more factions basically in these getups. These could be all one of many others that we might get as sets, with names and then, whatever the case may be. And then, of course, seeing the figure, in action, moving around, it looks good. Again, Joytoy just has figures that move around very well, that articulate, pretty nicely. And again, we've seen a lot of this stuff before, so it's kind of hard to hate it. But at the same time, like I said, the helmet kills it for me. The body itself, the gun itself, switch it out for something else. But the action, again, the way it looks, I think this is definitely a winner for me. If I can just switch out that helmet for something else, if you don't care, this is probably a winner for you. Now, switching over to probably my favorite one. Okay, when I look at him like this, I don't think he's my favorite one when you see him just in the suit and tie, I guess you could say, the button up and tie. But he does come with a fair amount of stuff, and once he has it all on him, he actually looks really good. He reminds me a lot of, what is it, the Hitman series, basically, sort of, in a way, just not bald. But I do like this. I do kind of hope we get more of this style of figure. I think it always looks really good. They basically look like professional gunmen, professional hitmen. So I like that aesthetic. I hope we get more of these. If I can only choose one, most likely this is the one I'm gonna buy. I mean, seriously, look at that. I feel like there's an episode, I feel like we've seen in Call of Duty this exact getup. Maybe it was that really crazy Russian massacre one. So yeah, maybe not the maybe not the right time, but still, I do like the overall look and aesthetic of this, and I like the fact that, again, it just looks like professional gunman, professional hitman. I could definitely use 3, 4, 5, or 6 of these, and again, if they decide to do more in this body style with just a different head or whatever the case may be, again, I would definitely want to get my hands on that. I think he comes with some of my most favorite guns that you can get currently with Joytoy figures, and of course a pistol, but it all comes together really nicely. I don't know if we've seen some of this before in black, but I will admit that I love the way it looks in black. I love the way the backpack, basically the vest, the pouches. I'm pretty sure we've seen all of this before, like in a tan motif, right, for the Navy SEALs and stuff, but I love the way this guy looks. The only thing I would say is kind of weird is the way the head looks. They made his head kind of extra square. I feel like no one else's is that square, but yeah, makes him look bobblehead. But again, everything else looks pretty nice, and I'm happy they gave him just the open white shirt. The contrast looks very nice, and of course they're kind of rolled up, so he looks very tactical. Now moving over to the next guy, this is another one of those guys that basically has the metal head, or should I say the metal helmet, and some of the more futuristic looking. Again, not a fan. I don't think I bought whatever figure this originally came with, but we have seen this kind of body before. This is that like buffer body. That's why we see a lot of what we see here. I'm going to tell you right now though, and this is the pitfall with this figure right here, which is, I don't want to say why I wouldn't get it unless it comes with an extra backpack, but that big ass backpack you see on the left there is too damn heavy, and it basically forces your figure to have to be very, very far forward or leaning up against something, or he's basically going to fall over. So I don't know, maybe let's take a look at what the figure looks like. And, as we see him come together, I actually am willing to say that, it doesn't look half bad. I like the black, undertones. I like the gray up top. That metal kind of futuristic look, I guess, doesn't look half bad. But I think this is the first one that is a hard pass for me. There's nothing redeeming about this, I think, overall, that makes me say I would buy this. Again, if this is something that's up your alley, you're going to like it. But this is a hard pass for me. Now, even if I'm not going to buy him, I will admit that he doesn't look half bad, just in general. The aesthetic isn't half bad if he had maybe a different backpack and a different helmet, but in this case, it's even more than that. He has Gregson's, that's his name, Gregson. He has Gregson's, I think, shoulder pads. They don't look bad, but I think I would have liked them to be more the tan color that you see, and maybe he should have had just a more regular backpack. Again, I don't really like these big ones. They're too heavy. They're not made in a way that is, like, I'm surprised. I mean, it must have taken them like a long time to get him into this pose with that big ass backpack. But what sucks about this one is that all the guys that come with that big backpack also come with a small backpack, so that if you don't want to use the big one that's too bulky and it's going to make them fall over, I don't care. I have no idea how they did this, because you cannot do this with the regular figures. They will fall over. So, I have no idea. But, all the other ones come with basically a smaller backpack that you can apply. I kind of wish we would have gotten that here, but, obviously we didn't. But it doesn't matter. There's multiple things about this that I just don't care about. Though I will say the gun's decent. Okay, so try them up when it comes down to it. This is actually a really cool pack. We're basically getting 3 figures that you could put with your regular military stuff, and then you're getting basically 3 or 4 figures that you can put with your more futuristic looking military stuff. I know I missed one of them. I think I missed the guy to the very right. I'm not quite sure if I just didn't see any photos for him, but I've looked twice now and I feel like I can't find photos. So if I do, I'll try to cover him later. But I think this is a really cool concept and idea from Joytoy. I love the fact that they're bringing these figures that are basically rehashed at a cheaper price to give you something relatively new while allowing you a nice cheap entry price for you to get into Joytoy. So I think this is the right thing to do. And let me know which one of these guys is your favorite and which one is a must buy or is not a must buy. And of course, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know down in the comments below what it is that you guys are most excited for. But until then, I will see you guys on the next one. Deuces.